Hi, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Wednesdays. I'm your host, Carla Coleman, back again, the Director of Communications at New Salem Baptist Church. And today we're actually talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is very much aligned with our overall financial wealth, and that is starting a small business and the steps to get there. And with us today, we have Monica Womack, who is the vice president, right now serves as vice president of associate vice president with the Columbus Urban League, supporting financial empowerment and workforce empowerment services. Prior to that, and prior to her joining the Columbus Urban League, she was the division manager serving as a grant and programmatic administrator for the state of Ohio's Minority Business Development Division, principally serving as a Minority Business Assistance Centered network. Monica serves her community as a member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Central Ohio chapter, holding the offices of Financial Secretary and Public Policy Chair. She earned her bachelor's degree in finance at Franklin University and her master's degree in public administration from Franklin University. And in the fall, she will begin her doctoral program in organizational leadership. So welcome, Monica. We are so glad to have you here with us.
Good
And
evening, everyone. Oh,
oh no, perfect. Yeah, say hello. And everyone, come on into the chat. Please start getting your questions ready. You can start dropping them in there if you have some already. We are going to have a great conversation. I'm sure this one's going to go long about how to start a new business. Now, before I ask Monica to tell us a little more about herself, I have to say that the exciting thing is she has been on both sides of this fence. She has been in a position, as you heard during my intro, where she has helped small businesses become successful. And she also owns her own business. So she knows what it takes. She knows the heartaches and the challenges and the glory and the passion that goes into starting your own business. So Monica, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll start chatting about those steps.
no, great. Thank you very much, Carla. And again, I am very excited to be here to support and have the conversation around small businesses. While my role may have changed within that space, but I am very passionate about helping small businesses, specifically helping minority businesses and seeing them succeed. So I'm very excited. I have my own small business, as Carla referenced, Making Logistics Wow, being able to take your ideas and how we're able to find those steps to get you from where you began to where you want to go. And there may be some things that you need to know along the way that are some pitfalls that can help you from leadership, organizational implementation, as well as fiscal management. So it's very exciting to be here and just looking forward to being able to share some of the resources. Again, as Carla referenced, the starting points, the ups, the downs, and some of the things that we've learned, especially after COVID-19, and how we can take some of those lessons learned and best practices to move forward to help grow businesses.
Excellent, excellent. Well, come on in. I know we still have people chiming in and joining in the chat. So thank you so much, Monica, for being here today. Like I said, it's one of those conversations I love to have because I own my own small business as well, doing communications and marketing and public relations. So tell us a little bit about, let's start with the side where you're the owner, the small business owner, and then we'll get into what it's like to help and the resources that are out there to help small businesses be successful. So what was it like
No, that's
starting
really
your own business?
no, that's really great. So one of the things that it's really it was birthed out of me asking, hey, is there an opportunity for me while I was working at the state to earn a couple of extra dollars without having to, have an impact on my position? And one of the chief financial officer, he just flat out said, why aren't you starting your own business? And I said, well, I never really thought about that. And, I really took the skills that I have as it relates to process, organizational design development, and said, oh, well, I am able to apply these skills every day to help you maintain fiscal responsibility. So why not take a chance and do the same thing for me? And so, but it was still a long process, because while I went through and registered my business with the Secretary of State, started to get my EIN number, which are very easy things to do, and to register with the Secretary of State, literally $99. You can go online, do the search to see if the name that you want is available. And so that's what I did. I went out and saw that, hey, I used my initials, MLW, to create a business. And so it's like, what are the next steps from that? And it's been really challenging between trying to navigate work and my business, because there was a lot of overlap from what I did when I was working for the state.
Mhm.
And so there are services that we provided at no cost. And so for me to charge for those services didn't quite lend itself well. But I've been able to put myself out there as a space, and in a space of, hey, I've been able to moderate discussions, definitely during the pandemic, in support of Calling All Connectors and a Small Business Connect through New Salem, and being able to moderate those panel discussions, being able to curate a story around what are small businesses in need of right now. So we were able to come up with design. So I not only came up with the design around how the format and the run of show would go, but then also who would be the best panelist for this story? Who's going to be able to really tell and share the story of what it means as a small business owner? And so for me, it was really a great opportunity. A lot of things were birthed out of COVID, in the midst of the death and destruction that occurred by the disease. A lot of things were also birthed through that process. And so for me to become more comfortable and more confident in having the conversation was really what spurred out of being able to connect. And then now, as I'm continuing to moderate more panel discussions and being in that space, it's really now transitioning on how to have those other intentional conversations on what businesses, small businesses need, minority businesses need, and then being able to direct them to what their next is.
And I think that's excellent in the sense that, when you did the panel discussions with Community of Caring Development Foundation, as well as others, that sometimes
Mhm.
for a small business owner, you need someone to, face to face, an individual who can answer questions, not just, on the page or on a website and reading it and thinking you're understanding, but to be able to get some additional information like that. I think that's excellent. And then I guess, the pandemic itself, I found with a lot of small business owners, and it sounds like you touched on this a little bit. It was either boom or bust. I mean, it was, there was no real in between. I mean, there were some companies that really took off.
No, most definitely. And so when you think about the boom, those companies that had a business and or a business model, or actually even more importantly, a business mindset, that mindset
Hmm.
of, so how do I pivot? That
Right.
was the term that was definitely used in 2020, but it was one that has always been in play. And so, how were businesses able to pivot during that time? What were you able to do differently? How were you able to leverage your resources that you have to be able to meet the need that was going on? So if
Hmm.
your business did not have a online presence, well, then there was a challenge at that time. Now, how quickly could you ramp up to get that online presence was very important as well. But then
Hmm.
also when you're looking at not only the the nature of the pandemic, but then it was also how we do business. So now the opportunity to do more online, to do more virtual, it's now opened up many doors. I know, like for me, I had a virtual graduation party. And so there were individuals who were able to participate in my graduation who wouldn't have been
Mhm.
able to before because they lived in other states or other cities. And so it really helped. I attended a virtual wedding where,
Mhm.
they had individuals that were live, but that is now a multi-million dollar business industry to have
Mhm.
virtual weddings and what that looks like and how to effectively manage how that continues to move forward. And so now you're able to allow individuals to be in your space that had not been before. And then with PPE being necessary, and what was that like? Seamstress, they started making masks. And so that became a great opportunity for, again, additional income while individuals may not be going to the same events and also the COVID weight that was put on during as well.
Yeah.
So seamstress also had the opportunity to let a little bit of your suits out as you're returning back to work. But you really have that opportunity to showcase your ability to shift, your ability to pivot, and more importantly, that ability to be that hustle. A lot of
Mhm.
times people don't think about the level of hustle that is necessary and important in being an entrepreneur, being a
Mhm.
business owner. And there's a
Mhm.
different mind shift. There's definitely a difference. And there's a difference between being an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Sure.
And so not many people realize that, if they think that I own a small business, that I'm an entrepreneur. Well,
Mhm.
they don't work in that same tandem. A business owner, you're able
Mhm.
to run your business, you have that niche that you're in, and you continue to run and operate that. Entrepreneurs look at it's the mindset of what's new, what's different, and
Mhm.
how can I impart change in those spaces. And so when
Mhm.
you think about the difference between those two and the importance of that difference, it's definitely an exciting time to open up your mind to expand what opportunities are, and be able to leverage and grow.
That's really a good point because a lot of times we
Mhm.
don't look at the two differences between being an owner and being an entrepreneur. And in many ways, you need to be both. You
Yeah,
just can't stay stagnant and think, okay, I own a business and let it just run itself. You always have to be looking toward the future. Wouldn't you agree?
definitely. And I might most definitely agree. And to be that so when you're thinking of being an entrepreneur, when you're thinking of being a business owner, and also when you're thinking about being how are you a leader in
Mm,
both of those spaces. And so as a leader, you have to have vision. And
yeah.
as a part of that vision, you have to be able to see not only what it is that you're currently doing, but what you need to do and
Hmm.
what's coming next. Now, I don't believe anyone could have predicted COVID the way that it went down.
No, no.
However, a lot of people were able to see, okay, well, now what can I do on a go forward? And
Mhm.
in some instances, from a societal perspective, we were moving towards a cashless society. A lot of,
Sure.
the parking meters, they had gone cashless before COVID.
Mhm. Mhm.
The opportunity to do some of those things that were traditional, one stop. I mean, the fact that vending machines allow for credit cards now, and they had been
Mhm.
doing that for many years prior to COVID. So the opportunity or the use of actual paper currency was starting to wane in general. And then when you're looking at cryptocurrency and other things, it's just really how we do business and what business
Mhm.
looks like is definitely changing. And how are we able to continue to not just meet that trend, but also get ahead
Mhm.
of that trend. And more
Right.
importantly, be the trend.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah, the
mhm,
world has changed. It really has. Okay, I'm going to
yes.
ask you, just a more of a business personal question, and that is, so your business in particular, did you really excel during the pandemic, or was it something that you throttled back a little bit, depending on what was going on during the pandemic?
So I actually started to excel more and become more
Mhm.
visible during the pandemic because of the
Mhm.
fact that there I had nothing but a captive audience. And so we were starting, I was starting to see more opportunity, and being able to work with the Community Development Foundation. I mean, excuse me, the Community Development. Am I going to say it incorrect still? Community Development. Is it the foundation with the through the
Oh, our
church?
foundation?
Yes.
Community, yeah, Community Development Foundation. Yeah. Hmm.
Good deal. Okay,
Yeah.
I think I'm saying it
Community of
correctly. Yeah.
Caring, Community of Caring Development Foundation. Yes.
Thank you. So I'm sorry about that. So, just being able to do more work through that partnership and being able to facilitate and to curate and, develop and create the sessions that were put on for individuals so that small business owners could have the information. There are definitely a lot of resources that are out here that we're supporting, but it's really the being able to connect. And I think that
Right.
that's one of the keys is really connecting. But I
Mhm.
think another big piece as it relates to business is really the confidence. And I know
Mhm.
sometimes, like, and I'm speaking just for me personally, sometimes I just really I'm much more of a cheerleader than a embracing what it is that I actually have and can do. And so I will cheer someone on to the hilt, but you're like, Monica, get out in front of people.
I know.
But when it came time to start putting together the content and when it came time to start putting together the questions and being able to get to the root of what is it that businesses really need to know and how can we make sure that they have that information, then being virtual has helped open that up for me and be more
Right.
comfortable and confident sitting
Mhm.
in my at my table and being able to share what it is and how to be able to really get to the root of what businesses need to know and to
Mhm.
have panelists that are present that I know in this community that can give them the answers to those questions.
Mhm. And that's, you said something earlier, and that's the key. It does kind of put you in front of hundreds of people that before you didn't really have that audience. But the other thing
Right.
is that connection. I you say it well, and that is, the being able to find other folks in the community who have the
Mhm.
same goals and objectives, and pulling together your resources to do something to help others. And that was really key, especially during the pandemic. I mean, it wasn't just our church foundation that you connected with, but you connected with the Greater Linden, business
Business.
network, and
Mhm.
others, and as well as the city of Columbus. And there was a
Mhm.
lot of connecting going on.
No, most definitely. And I think the advantage with the Greater Linden Business Network is the fact that they are in Linden. And
Yeah.
they, Carla, Carla, she also is a business owner. She has her
Mhm.
own, tax service that is in the Linden community. And
Yep.
so, it's that opportunity. And Tamara, with her baking, I mean, it's really being able to connect. And and
Yeah.
actually during the pandemic, a lot of in-home bakeries, those really
Yes.
started to
Mhm.
spur and to grow,
Take
and
off.
the
Mhm.
ability to just be able to see how that has actually changed and leveraged during the pandemic. Because again, a lot of folks were home all day. And so while they're still working from home, there's still an opportunity to manage those other, business opportunities and tasks that are associated with that as well, and not take
Mhm.
from what you were doing. So I
Right.
think that
Right.
at least for me during the pandemic, I was able to and had the opportunity to be able to really be grow in me as it relates to being
Mhm.
comfortable and really making logistics wow, and what does that
Yeah.
look like and how do we continue to to make those things happen. So
Mhm. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so let's start talking about the steps.
no,
The steps of, you gave us a few at the beginning of this conversation. You could actually reiterate those if you like, and then let's talk about the importance of networking, the importance of all the different things you need to do to really get your business off the ground.
No, definitely. And so the first step is really, which may seem very basic, but what do you want to do?
Yeah.
It's just that simple. Really, what is your idea? What is your passion? And then after that step, now who would want to pay for it?
Yeah.
Because that's where it is. I mean, you may have the most amazing idea, but if there isn't a market for it, that's not going to help you in any way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, you can
Mm-hmm.
create a market because some people may not know what it is that you're doing, that sometimes they don't know that they need it. And
Sure.
that may
Sure.
be your case. You know, they may not know, but you have to have at least an idea of what it is that you want to do, and more importantly, who's going to pay for it. So then the next steps are coming up with the name. I've had different conversations with individuals around how do you name your business. Some use
Mm-hmm.
something very simple as, you know, their name, enterprises, solution, you know, however, but some are using things that really support or describe what they're doing. And so
Mm-hmm.
while initially I was looking at MLW Solutions LLC, because again, those are my initials, very simple. I'm helping you with solutions, but some people may
Sure.
not have understood what kind of solutions I was providing. And
Mm-hmm.
so in having that conversation, it became more, okay, well, so what am I actually doing? And I had started to leverage materials that had the letters MLW on it. So I'm like, well, what can I use that aligns with those items so that they don't go to waste? And so that's when I came up with Making Logistics Wow. And a lot of
Nice.
times logistics are thought of as transportation, but it's really the movement. It's the movement
Mm-hmm.
of, it can be the movement of equipment, movement of product, and it's also the movement of ideas, the movement
Mm-hmm.
of direction. So there's some non-tangible things that can be moved, that need to be
Sure.
moved, and you know, how are you able to do that? And so, and at
Mm-hmm.
the end of that movement, you would like for the individuals to say, wow, that we really did that, like that really happened. And so that's where from that perspective, so I registered with the Secretary of State, because once you do the search through the Secretary of State's website, you're now able to identify if whether or not that name is available for you even use in the state of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
also a great attorney, Jalen Parks, and she actually can help you with determining if your name is viable federally. So if it's across the United States, because you may start to blow up and then you realize that, hey, I can only have this business name in the state of Ohio because somebody
Mm-hmm.
else is using it in Florida or someone else is using it in the state of Georgia. So you definitely want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that as you're continuing to move and as you're looking at how your capacity for your business is to grow, that you're, you know, taking those things in consideration.
Good
So
point.
after I no, yeah, because you have to know. So after
Mm-hmm.
I registered the business with the Secretary of State's office, I received the name and the approval. I then created my employee identification number, or my EIN, and I registered that with the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
Because now once you register your business with the IRS, now you're able to actually file from a tax perspective and then start to actually support from that initiative.
Sure.
And then the next step is really working on what are you going to do and how that is
Mm-hmm.
going to be. So you want to start looking at, you know, operating agreements and your business plan. And depending on the structure of your business, which I then again reference everyone to speak to a tax advisor based on your structure of your business. So if you're going to be a limited liability company, if you're going to do an S corp, if you're going to do a C corp, those are all tax designations that you should be mindful of as you're, you know, filing and establishing your business. But then the next thing is really just around the steps and the processes of, you know, doing your business plan, doing a SWOT analysis, evaluating what your strengths are, evaluating what your weaknesses are. Both of those are things that you control and or have the opportunity to control. And then you want to look at your opportunities and your threats. Those are things that are outside of you and your organization. So what opportunities are available for your business, but then also what threats are out there against your business. meaning your threats can be anything from who is a competitor to the fact that you have environmental. During the pandemic, a lot of suppliers were out of materials, and some suppliers had to transfer the materials that they were using because they were now being used to make PPE. And so because, supply chains have been directly impacted, so you have to be mindful of what environmental factors are going to have an impact as a threat to your business. And then depending upon how you're structured, if you need an operating agreement, if you're an LLC, just to say, who are the members of your organization? Do you want to have members in your organization? Do you want to have other people who are part of your business and your business structure? Sometimes it may be beneficial to you to have, a partner in your business because he or she may leverage resources and skills that you do not have that can help your business grow. And they may be able to come in and be able to determine, oh, well, yeah, so I have these sets of skills, you have these sets of skills. When we combine those skills together, we're going to be amazing. And so what does that look like? And so again, consult your attorney as well as your accountant as it relates to those initiatives and those endeavors. And then the other piece is, you want to establish your bank account. And again, there are things that the bank is going to require. But by doing so, you're able to actually create that foundation for your business. You're able to see what that looks like and how that continues to really solidify that this is the space that you're in. Some individuals, may start out as a sole proprietor, which is another opportunity. And then every dollar you bring in goes directly into your checking account, which can work for some individuals. When it's time to separate that out, it becomes a little bit more challenging. It becomes a little challenging. But I mean, if that's what works best for you at the time to just get your business off and running, because that's what I did at the very beginning. I just started to, when I was receiving services, it was just going into the account because I wasn't sure how much time I was really going to be able to dedicate to the business and what that was going to look like. So definitely how, it started, but also since then, I'm looking to transition out of that too, because there are opportunities where it can grow beyond where I am. And I want to make sure that as I'm reporting it, it does report appropriately. But you also want to make sure that as you are, really becoming more, once you're starting to really start generating that income, understanding where your strengths lie. Pastor Troy always says, know where your 10s are. And if accounting is not your 10, then you definitely need to hire an accountant because you want to make sure that who you do not want to be against you is the IRS. And so you definitely want to make sure that as you're doing that, but then also be very mindful of, the nature of your business. And so at some point, I think we'll maybe ask some questions of the audience as to, what kind of businesses are out here, because depending upon the nature of your business, there's certain things that while having the accountant is necessary, you may also be able to just leverage it through QuickBooks and what that looks like and how you're able to manage and to maintain and to, monitor your expenses on a go forward basis too. But definitely as you continue to grow, after you've been in business for at least a year and you're able to demonstrate, the contracts that you have, the income that you have coming in, the expenses, definitely that you especially as an ethnic minority or a female business owner are able to demonstrate and identify those characteristics, then you can also apply for certification through the state of Ohio, either through the minority business development, for the minority business enterprise certification. They also have a woman-owned business certification now. And then there's also one that's for encouraging diversity, growth, and equity, which is neither specific to gender or ethnic minorities, but you do have to show a social disadvantage. And then there's also a veteran business owner certification as well. So certification may be an opportunity for you to expand and increase your contracting opportunities because being in what would be considered a disadvantage, either by race, gender, or the advantage of being a veteran, disabled veteran, there are additional contracting opportunities that are not just from the state, county, and local governments, but then also in the private sector. You have the opportunity to expand from a contracting opportunity as well.
You're muted, Carla.
Can you hear me, Carla?
Sorry, you can hear me now. You can hear me. Yeah, the doggy had a couple of things to say, so I put myself on mute. Now we have a few questions in the chat, so why don't we try to attack some of those, and then we'll come
Okay.
back to the other side of your life there. So the first one is, what have you found to be the most challenging in starting your business, and how have you got through it? How did you get through it?
So for me personally, the most challenging was really, and just being honest, just my level of comfort and confidence in just putting myself out there. That was really the most challenging. And oddly enough, brother Adam Troy was not really having any parts of that. So it was really, nope, Sister Monica, let's go. We're going to get this. We're going to do this. You're going to be here. And I'm like, okay. I'm here. All right. So yeah, so it was really, that's really been the challenging part for me, is just really just putting myself out there. It's really easy for me to be behind the scenes and really running and driving, but actually being in the forefront was the struggle and the challenge for me.
And that
And
is a
so
challenge. I have the exact same problems. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What did you say?
no, I'm so sorry. I was just put out there, and I was just like, okay.
Oh,
But as I go back and I look at the first session that we did and up to the fifth session, it was like, okay, I can see where, the comfort was coming in, being less phased. And I just did I actually ended up doing a 3-hour panel discussion a couple of weeks ago. And so where I was moderating the entire conversation. And so it really, I could feel the difference in those who saw what it looked like from the first one to there. So that easier to say yes to today.
Oh, good. And that's the funny part is we can be our biggest critics, because I was there with you the first time, and you were great. You were great. But we all kind of look at ourselves and go, okay, I could have done this and I could have done that. So sometimes you just got to step out there on faith. You just got to go. You need supporters like Adam and others, people in their network, to say, girl, you got this.
Definitely.
It's so important. Yep,
And I'll say
absolutely.
the other tough piece is for me pricing. That's the
Yeah.
other piece I think is also a challenge for me, is pricing. And so and the reason being, so I have no problem from an employer to say, this is how much I'm worth. So this should be what I should be paid. I actually have done pretty well with being able to have that conversation. But for me to have that conversation in how I price the services is where that was a struggle for me. Because one of the challenges, I actually genuinely enjoy helping people. And so because I genuinely enjoy helping people, being able to share what can help them move to their next, it's literally second nature to me. I really don't think anything of it. And then when I'm finished with the conversation, I was like, that could have easily been.
Just amazing consulting.
Yes, I could have easily charged, and someone would have easily paid. Because the information was that valuable to not only them, but to the growth and the trajectory of their business.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Pricing, in many of small business owners, I say that's probably one of the top challenges. It's hard to do. It really is, especially when you're so passionate about what you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The next one was, How many years does it take to be successful? Yeah, that's a good question. And that varies. It varies a lot.
Oh, I mean, it varies greatly. And so, and it really depends on, and it truly depends on one, the industry that you're in, two, what do you determine and measure as success? And three, really, how sustainable is your current success? And so,
Mhm.
as an example, and I use this example quite often, where cosmetic industry is very huge. And Rihanna did not care that she was a singer. Rihanna decided that she wanted to create a beauty line. She wanted to be
Mhm.
inclusive. She wanted to make sure that, it met her desire. And within a year, she was well over 100 million in sales in 1 year. And
Wow.
she hasn't stopped there. But the other opportunity is we also haven't heard any new music from Rihanna either. So so it's really, but she's cranking out new products in her cosmetic line every, what, 4 to 6 months. There's something new that's being added to her cosmetic line. She's added skincare to her line. She's added different products within her, beauty. So, success can be very varied. During the pandemic, some individuals, while they may have boomed, how sustainable is that boom? So a lot of
Mhm.
people started getting into PPE and being able to, get that produced, get that pushed out. And while masks in some spaces are still, very much necessary, the requirement has waned drastically
Mhm.
across the United States. And so individuals who pivoted in that way now need to see, well, one, hopefully they were able to offload the majority of that inventory, and so that they
Mhm.
were actually producing at a pace that was equal to what their
The
requests
demand.
were. Because if they were
Mhm.
producing greater than their request, they may have inventory that they're not going to be able to get rid of anytime soon,
Right. Right.
unless there's another variant that comes out in it, so there's definite opportunity here from understanding, what success is. But I think the biggest piece of what does success look like is really, what do you determine success to be? Is
Sure.
success being able to get your product out on the street to show that I
Mhm.
actually did that? Is success a dollar amount, meaning I'm able to pay off my house? Is that
Mhm.
success? Am I able to
Mhm.
pay for my children to go to college? Am I able to,
Mhm.
what does that success look like? It's going to definitely vary per person. But I think that because it is a personal answer, it's definitely going to be different based on who they
Mhm.
are and what their goals are.
Yeah. And and that's the key right there is setting those goals.
Yes.
Especially I do a strategic plan for my business every year. And starting in
Definitely.
November is when I start thinking about it. I try to have it all wrapped up by January 1. What am I
Mhm.
going to do next year? What are my goals? What do I, like you said, what do I
Mhm.
consider to be success?
Yeah.
So, would you talk a little bit about that strategic planning piece?
No, that's very important. And I also like the way that you reference the fact that you do it every year. And so that's the importance of it, because to have your strategic plan. Peter Drucker, who was a leadership guru and also process um, king of process quality control, really
Mhm.
referenced that hope is not a strategy.
Mm.
And so, while you may say, "Oh, I hope this works," well, what are you doing to make it work? How are you actually making it work? I hope you understand. How are you making someone understand? And so, from that strategic perspective, you really want to be able to identify, not only are you able to attract more clients. What is your
Right.
goal for this year? Is your goal to
Mhm.
attract more clients? Is your
Mhm.
goal to increase your revenue. And I think the other piece too is your goal to be able to identify or brand into other areas. And I think that's also key, where you don't, or you still want to make sure that you're still excited, you're still engaged in what you're doing from a business perspective. But there may be a need and an opportunity for you to say, you know what, I can see where this can really be added to my business model. Does it fit? Is it appropriate? And what is your timeline to see if it works? You would still go through that SWOT analysis. You still want to be able to see, hey, what are my strengths in this areas? What are some weaknesses that I may have? And, adding this additional products to my suite of services. What are the opportunities around adding this product to my suite of services? And more importantly, what are the threats against me adding? And those threats can also hit from a weakness perspective as well. And so what I mean by that is there going to be additional cost that I have to impart into this new opportunity that may or may not outweigh the actual gains from it? And so you really want to think about what that looks like, but definitely being extremely strategic in how you are planning. And while we throw like words out like pivot and strategic and, all these things, it's really just saying your strategic plan is, what is it that I want to do and how am I going to be able to do it? And what do I need to be able to do it if I don't already have? And so how are you evaluating what that looks like? How are you actually coming up with, okay, I can see me increasing, revenue because I'm going to put in this much time and I'm going to attract additional engagements and being able to have additional clients. Or there's something that I've seen in an existing client that they may not realize that is necessary.
Sure.
And so being able to leverage that. And so it's more than just how am I growing my business, but the clients that I currently have, are there ways that I can continue to help them too?
Yeah, help them grow their business. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a win-win.
Right. And then 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, correct?
Definitely. No, most definitely. And actually one of the insurance agents in the area, Sandra Moody Gresham with DeHaan Enterprises, she had a plan that she was going to be done in 25 years.
Okay.
That was her plan, that the business, and so I think she's like a year or two out from that. So, and she's at her 20th, she was like, yes, I'm still on target. And so, and it's a great thing to look for. I mean, that's something you have to look forward to, because there's still steps that you have to take in year 1, in year 5, in year 10, and year 15 to make sure that in year 25 that you're going to be able to achieve that. So yes, so no, you definitely want to be able to see. And sometimes they've had the conversations. What's your exit strategy?
Yeah. Exactly.
What is your exit strategy? No, great question.
The other thing I was just going to throw out real quickly is that sometimes opportunities come your way. And when you've had those conversations with yourself, when you've developed that strategic plan, you can really think, okay, is that opportunity going to be to my advantage? Or is it going to, and I think you touched on this, take me in a direction that's going to take me away from my plan,
Definitely. No, most definitely. And you want to be mindful of that, because, they make the statement, all money isn't good money. And that's a true statement, and it's not even just so much the money, but it's also, while the money may actually meet the need, what did it cost? Did it cost additional time away from activities that you love? Did it actually cost you the opportunity to even have rest? A lot of times, while entrepreneurs is when you're a business owner, you are the cook, the baker, and possibly the candlestick maker too. And so you have to understand that at some point in time, you do need to have that space of rest, and for you to continue to grow and to develop your business. I know they say that, sleep is for the weary, But at some point in time, for you to continue to run that business, somebody's going to
You
have
gotta
to
get
rest.
some sleep. Right.
Somebody's
Exactly.
so yes.
That is so true. And I learned that I'm learning that the hard way. So I totally understand that. Okay,
Yes.
so we're at the 15-minute point, and I just want to make sure that we'll probably come back to some other things anyway, but I do want to make sure we talk about the other side of your your life here, and that is helping small businesses. I know.
No, definitely.
Oh, am I on? Can you hear me?
No, I was switching hats. Yep, I can hear
Oh,
you. I
okay,
was switching
switch the
hats.
hat. Okay, great. I love that. So, yeah, so helping small businesses, especially right now. I know that the Columbus Urban League is super busy. They always have been, but even now, with all the new programs and activities and things that are going on, I know you guys are hustling over there, really, and developing programs to help small businesses get off the ground and be successful. Talk a little bit about that if you could.
No, not a problem. And so while there's the Minority Business Assistance Center that's through the Columbus Urban League, through the pandemic, they also developed the Minority Small Business Resiliency Initiative. And with
Mm,
that initiative, it's really to provide specific resources, access to capital, being able to help the startup businesses, while the Minority Business Assistance Center works with more established businesses that are ready for certification and larger procurement opportunities. The Minority Small Business Resiliency Initiative is really to be that convener between how do I start this business and how do I begin to start transitioning so I can grow this business, and where are the actual risks. And it's not limited to just for-profit businesses. Nonprofits also have a space within the entrepreneurial lane as well, and being able to provide them with resources. They did an
mhm,
amazing work with being able to support and help minority businesses get access to capital. That's one of the
mhm,
other opportunities. And we have a new initiative that we are starting, which is called Incubate Her, to be able to help primarily Black women, but definitely ethnic minorities who are women, to be able to get on a path and a track towards how are you able to either be an entrepreneur, what do you need from a career skill pathing perspective, but it's also rooted in financial literacy and being able to help individuals to support and actually create and help to create generational wealth for their families, because that is one of
mhm,
the biggest disadvantages that we have specifically in the Black community, is that generational wealth is not there. And so it really does have the opportunity for financial literacy. It includes understanding your relationship to money,
mhm,
understanding your credit score,
mhm,
understanding the importance of budgeting and savings. Then with homebuyer education, learning the fact that your business credit is actually based on your personal credit. And so, how
mhm,
are you able to work on the necessary tools and steps to improve your personal credit so that you're able to start and establish that business credit to be able to, as necessary, to, effectively grow your business. And so those initiatives within the Columbus Urban League, but also through the Minority Business Assistance Center Network and the Minority Business Development Division with the state of Ohio, they're also working on new initiatives as it relates to access to capital to help with the barriers. I mean, that's the biggest
mhm,
challenge, especially in the Black community, are the barriers to accessing capital. You're not
mhm,
able to just go to, your parents or, your other relatives to pull those dollars together to be able to say, oh, now I can start this business. But through initiatives and resources that are available through not only the Minority Business Division, but then also through the Urban League, specifically with the Minority Small Business Resiliency Initiative, it's really an opportunity to help remove those the bureaucracy in the process. We
mhm,
can't eliminate,
mhm,
but we can at least help you navigate through that process. And I think that that's
mhm,
really been helpful. And there are a lot of other initiatives that are going on, even within the city of Columbus. The commission did a report on the financial literacy, and it was called the Financial Empowerment Roadmap. And it acknowledged
Mhm.
the fact that the majority of African American Black women in Columbus are low to moderate income, living below the
Mm.
poverty level, and 8
Mhm.
of those women had children. And so, how are we able to provide those resources? And entrepreneurship is a way to be able to assist with that. Not
Mhm.
everyone has the capacity and or um, ability to work the traditional 9 to 5 job, especially
Mhm.
with children,
Mhm.
and especially during the pandemic. I mean, and the children were at
Yeah.
home for
Yeah.
the bulk of that. So the
That's right.
opportunities that are able to be able to do entrepreneurial efforts, and that's the target group for one of the tracks within Incubate Her.
Mm.
Single mothers, single women, to be able to provide them with taking that idea and then moving it into an entrepreneurial opportunity.
Mhm. Now, see, that's excellent in the sense that, like you said, some people have the different DNA. I mean, some, really would rather own their own company, start something
Mhm.
new, from an idea that they have, and be very
Correct.
successful at it too. Excellent,
Yes,
excellent.
definitely.
So, wow. I'd say, how many years have you been working in this space? I had to say it. I'm sorry.
No, 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 you're fine. So I've been in this space overall just over 5.5 years.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Sounds
Just
good.
over 5.5
And
years.
so,
But I also have, so on the flip side to that, I also have over 15 years of financial services experience. So then from a
mm,
retail banking perspective, I have another 5 years just being in retail banking management, being able to help um, businesses connect with the resources that were necessary to be able to, from a financing perspective, from banking products and so forth.
so if there are small businesses owners out there who want to get more information about what's the different programs that are available through the Columbus Urban League, what's the best way to do that?
No, most definitely. So they can actually reach through the www.cul.org,
Hmm.
and underneath the search will actually come up to business resources. So it
Nice.
includes the Minority Business Assistance Center, Minority Small Business Resiliency Initiative, and also a partnership through Franklin County, where later part of last year, there were actual dollars that were being able to be distributed through. So the Urban League is also working in a lot of different spaces to be able to make sure that access to capital is provided to minority businesses, specifically Black owned businesses.
Hmm. That has always been a challenge, getting that access to capital. Yeah,
Definitely.
huge challenge. So I'm just glad that not only banking industries and others are starting to see that
Mhm.
across the board. That's very helpful. Now let's talk a little bit about nonprofits, because you're absolutely right. You brought this up earlier,
Mhm.
how nonprofits need this type of information as well. And we have, I know, within the Linden area and across Columbus, a lot of people wanting to start a nonprofit because they see the need for certain things within their communities. So, can you talk a little bit more about what the additional things they will need to get a nonprofit off the ground?
Well, definitely. So part of the challenge with, or I guess the opportunity with a nonprofit is really, again, it's from a tax perspective. And so it's really
Mhm.
having the documents in order to be able to establish your 501c3, because that's allowing you to have the tax exempt status. And so
Mhm.
the opportunity from a tax exempt status is there are also resources that are available from grant opportunities and other funding streams that can help support and grow your nonprofit. There's also a human resources chamber here in Columbus that really connects human services, human services chamber of commerce, and those human services entities are really able to show the large ones like, the Columbus Urban League, Goodwill, YWCA, but there are also some smaller ones and some more grassroots organizations that are a part of the Human Services Chamber that can really be your connector, your ability to be able to see how I can partner with the larger nonprofit organizations. And just really, again, to your point earlier, it's about networking. How do you network and connect? How are you able to identify who has a similar path, or more importantly, what path can you provide to that nonprofit organization that where they may need additional mentoring. And they may want to have someone who can help with that part of that larger nonprofit space. How are you able to do that? And it's really just how you're able to connect and make those connections. But definitely within the Minority Small Business Resiliency Initiative, which is led by J. Avery Frost, is a really great opportunity to be able to make those connections from a nonprofit perspective, and then for profits with the Minority Business Assistance Center, and that's led by Janine Hooks, who's the interim director. So just being able to connect and have those conversations. Their contact information is definitely on the website when you get there. But I think there's some other grassroots organizations that could be really helpful in, making those connections. Keys to Black Wealth is one of them, where they're able to provide what they refer to as edutainment. So they are providing you with the information that you need to continue to help and support your business. Black Hack and Venture Suites, being able to hack into, business. They also are able to, they also have co-working space that's available and opportunities there. Columbus Black, if you want to be able to advertise your business and get onto their network, again, networking and being able to reference those things. And then also there's the Women's Center for Economic Opportunity. And so as a woman business owner, if you're really wanting to be in a collective, there are definite spaces and places where you can connect to be able to have those conversations, those broader conversations, and to be around like-minded individuals to be able to how you can bounce ideas off and move your business forward. So yes.
Yeah, that networking is so important. And then I'm just going to say this, and then we're going to check on our polls that we've been sending out, as we were talking, and that is being intentional. Being intentional about your passion, about your idea, about the starting your business. I know that in many cases, some small business owners will start a little here, and they don't necessarily set up a bank account or anything like that. But then when resources become available, they're not able to tap into those. So just getting out there and following some of the steps that you outlined today is so important. If you just go ahead and make sure you register with the state and set up your bank account at least, right?
No, definitely. And then also really, I think about it from like the C's of connection, capacity, and community. And so when you think about those three and, who are you connecting with? How are you actually connecting? And not just from the end user, but then from a community perspective. What value is your product actually bringing? And then what is your capacity? Do you have the capacity to actually, one, operate your business, but then next, to grow your business? And what does that look like? So
what does that look like? Good point. All right, I'm going to ask Mike. Can you tell us what our polls look like today?
Sure. So for the first poll,
thanks, Mike.
Do you own a small business? 33% said yes. 67 no.
Okay.
How many employees do you have? Not many voted, but the majority had 1 to 10.
Okay.
Did the pandemic boost or bust? This also wasn't voted that much, but 100% said it boosted during the pandemic.
Okay.
Nice.
And when you think about the number of employees, the large majority of minority owned businesses are micro entrepreneurs or having less than 25 employees. And so, so that would make sense that that's where the larger number would be. But then the opportunity is, while the numbers who acknowledge that they had a boom during the time, this opportunity for that is that still may not have increased the number of employees that they have.
Sure.
And so when you're looking at those numbers, it's really just trying to be, cognizant of the fact that one is not a direct correlation to the other, but you have the opportunity to see, again, to the question that was posed, what does success look like? And so you may not ever want to add another employee, but are you able to meet the needs and the demands that you have, meet your goals? Are you able to hit the targets that you've set for yourself? Because also, if you don't have targets and goals set for your business, then how do you know that you're ever going to get, how do you know where you're going?
Right. Exactly.
And then how do you know when you get there? So yes.
Exactly. Yeah. It's almost impossible. Well, thank you so much, Monica. We always ask our guests, to take, just kind of some last thoughts to give to everyone, kind of summarize things just to make sure everyone picked up on the major points. So do you want to have some last words here?
Yes, no, not a problem. Again, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. It was really great to be able to share something that I am truly passionate about as it relates to entrepreneurship, and most importantly, providing resources to specifically minority businesses. So one, and I think we'll kind of do it in reverse order of what I stated them in. Make sure that you have an idea of where you want to go. What are your goals? Where do you want to go? And then literally just follow the steps. And actually on the Secretary of State's website, there's a great opportunity to be able to pick up what those steps are. They express to you on doing your business name search, to then register your business. It is a very quick and easy process. Once you have your name registered, get your EIN number, and then really focus on your SWOT analysis is very, very key. Because the importance of understanding what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what are the opportunities that are out there, and then what are the threats that are posed to that business. And so having those items in space and in play and keeping them, because, and again, as Carla, you said earlier, your strategic plan and your SWOT analysis as well, they should be reviewed on an annual basis, and being able to determine where you are, how you're moving forward, and if you're really in tune to what your community has in place for you and what your capacity is for you to continue to connect.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Monica, for sharing all that wealth of information with us today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And as I always say, stay safe and stay healthy and keep pushing those big ideas. Absolutely.
Yes.
Have a good night, everyone.